In the next 5 minutes, I will show you the 3-step process to solve any chess puzzle. The first thing you'd like to do first is look for checks. Then you want to look for captures, and finally you want to look for threats. You have to look for these in this order, and my last tip is if something doesn't work and you think it should, calculate it again. Now let's see this in action. So I've set up a round of Puzzle Rush Survival where I've gotten to 20 puzzles just to demonstrate this technique. As you can see here, we are being checked, and so, well, the most obvious move is counter checks, right? Because checks, captures, and threats in that order, and if something doesn't work, we'll keep calculating. Queen g2 check. This is a stupid idea because it gives away a free queen with check again, so that's not something we have to look at. Next, we look at captures. We are in check, so our only option would be to capture this queen, and would you look at that? We can capture a queen. Wow, was it really that hard? Nope. Okay, checks, captures, threats. This happens to be a capture, but after rook takes queen, I don't really see how we're breaking through. We have like no pieces left. So let's look at some other checks. We have this check, which gives away a queen, but we also have this check, which happens to win the game, as this is checkmate. Notice how we do not go here, because that would hang a queen, and also black can stop checkmate if they really wanted to. So this one is checkmate. Alright, checks, captures, and threats once more. Here there are a lot of checks. Check, 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 but usually you want to play the check that limits your opponent the most, and in this case, limiting these 2 escape squares as well as this one is queen to e5 check and checkmate. Alright, on to this one. Now, our pawn is being attacked. Usually checks, captures, and threats are the way to go, and I think we can just promote to a new queen. This one's not too bad. Checks, captures, and threats once more. Looking at this, it doesn't appear that we have any checks, and it doesn't appear that we have any real good captures. So we're going to have to resort to threats here. Now, this is probably the most obvious threat as it threatens the queen, right? And it also threatens the bishop. So there is no way for the queen to move and defend the bishop at the same time, so white will have to take. Then we are going to take, unleashing an attack on the queen as well as this bishop. And if you look carefully, there is no square that white's queen can go to that defends the bishop. So we're going to go for this, take back, and yeah, white gave up his queen for no reason. Alright, checks, captures, and threats once more. This one's pretty simple. Let's take a look at this check. He's going to have to take, and now what? Well, we keep looking for checks. We could go here, but that hangs a queen, right? So after check, check, we want to check on d8. After rook takes rook, and rook takes rook, this is going to be checkmate. Very simple. And if they don't, this is still going to be checkmate anyways. So, on to the next one. As you can see, the ones where they start with a check are particularly difficult, but it's also not that difficult in the way that, well, you are forced to make a move. So we don't have any checks. Let's do this capture. It makes the most sense, and he might take our bishop or our rook next, so it's best to take something if we're going down, right? And checks, captures, threats, got no good checks. Sorry, we could capture this, but that hangs a rook. So let's take the knight instead. And now, wow, would you look at that? We won a piece. This is rather simple. There's a couple checks we could play. Bishop b5 results in us being down a queen after knight to d7. We can win the queen back, but we look for better when we see a good move, right? This is just checkmate. This one is also rather simple. Checks, captures, threats. Usually, as I said, you want to play the most forcing check, in puzzles at least. Bishop b4 check gives white many options. King f1, knight c3, and knight to d2. But rook to d1 ends the game immediately. Let's take a look at this one as well. The only reasonable checks, and as you get better at this, you get better at discounting the useless checks. For example, rook e7, rook f8 make no sense. So usually I like to pay special attention to the moves that happen to be a check or a capture, like a capture and a threat. You know, if they've got more than one of the two, then they deserve more attention. In this case, this is just a ton of checks, but it ends in checkmate. Our last puzzle, our queen is under attack, and we gotta look for checks, captures, and threats. Now this one is a bit difficult, right? Because, well, we can't take here. Our queen is under attack. So what can we possibly do? Well, we can make a threat, right? And so the question then becomes, well, what threat can we make, right? Our queen is under attack. And this one is pretty tricky, but I believe the move is pawn to f2. forcing white to take, or else we would promote with check and then checkmate our opponent. And now we can just take the knight. Now, it's also important to see like which piece to take with. In this case, I want to play the move that limits my opponent the most. If I go queen takes knight, there's a chance that my opponent could go check here and cause up some trouble, so I'm going to take with the rook. And after he takes, I'm going to take his queen. Yeah, nothing is going on. Please subscribe. Yeah.